my YouTube channel. Today I will be talking about how I got into Howard with a 3.5 GPA, which is average, not a 4.0, not a 4.5, a 3.5 GPA. I will be breaking it down in 5 steps, and this is what I believe that can get you into any school with a 3.5 GPA. So number 1, GPA, classes, and test scores. GPA, as I said before, was a 3.5. I took classes, I took IB Math, IB Business, I took IB Biology, and also I took AP History, and I took a lot of advanced classes, and I feel like that's what also made me stand out, because I wasn't just doing the regular classes like a lot of people was. I was a 3.5 student who did higher classes, and this did bring my GPA up in probably like my sophomore year, but you know, junior year I had a 3.77, and then my GPA went down. That could also have affected why I got into this school, because they do see your academic record, but I believe that wasn't just the only thing. Like, I definitely had a 3.5 when I applied to Howard. So, with that being said, I would recommend y'all to do a lot of advanced classes. And if you don't do a lot of advanced classes, with a 3.5 GPA, you're on average an A to B student, like A and B student. So that's an average student. But I would say pick the harder classes, challenge yourself, and they'll see that you're challenging yourself and that you're not taking the easy way out. Test scores. So with the test scores, I took the SATs, but I didn't look. I don't even know my scores, honestly. I'm gonna keep it real. I don't know my scores, and I picked test optional for all my schools, but I got accepted to mostly all my schools, all the HBCUs, and I think one of the PWIs that I picked, which was regular. So yeah, I got into mostly all my schools with this method. So I know all this works because I'm the one. I got all the credentials, and I'm here at Howard right now. So with the test scores, you could pick test optional. I don't think test scores really matter, but it'll definitely help. If you're not a person that's really into school, but you're good at doing tests, I wasn't good at doing tests at all. So I already knew, I know my test scores weren't that low, but I already knew I was going to pick test optional for all my schools. I was not going to pick or put my SAT scores or my ACT scores. I was not going to put none of my scores there. I took them just in case, but I wasn't going to put. So you could either be, you don't have to. You can put test optional. So if I look over here, that's because I'm looking at the things that I got written down so I won't forget. So step 2, personal statement. Okay. So with my personal statement, I think this is the most important step, okay, to any college application. I believe this is like the most important step out of everything. So with my personal statement, there's a couple things that I feel that made me stand out as a candidate. So we'll get into that. So I would say my first number 1 rule to the personal statement is to make sure it's no more than 1 page. College recruiters, college people who are looking at your application are reading thousands and thousands of personal statements, and they also read the little prompts that they also give you. So with Howard, they gave me a personal statement, and I had 2 prompts that they wanted me to do. These colleges aren't going to have time to read a 3-page personal statement. So my biggest thing would be, all my academic advisors told me to keep it to 1 page. No more than 1 page. That'll make you stand out as a candidate, and it'll condense everything, so they already know if they're going to pick you or not. And it's just going to be easier writing process to me. I'm going to get to a point writer. If you're a writer like me, I get to the point. It just makes it easier, a lot easier to know you only have to focus on 1 page, and you can really be very attentive to that 1 page. I think when you have multiple pages of things, you kind of get lost in the sauce. So that's my biggest rule to a personal statement. Next, okay, so when it comes to your prompt, I think that you should talk about what I talked about to get me into Howard is how I grew from some adversity or challenge that made me who I am today. So you can do the little sob story that everybody do. I did a sob story, but I also didn't just make it all sad. I talked about how it made me grow as a person and how it made me grow in general in my education. So make sure that's a key point. If you're going to do a sob story, make sure you talk about how you grew from that challenge and how that affects you today and how that affects your education now. Okay, we're going to move on from the personal statement, and we're going to go on to extracurriculars, which is, sorry for the camera angle changing. Yeah, technical difficulties going on while creating this video, but I still want to put this out for you. Number 3, extracurricular activities. So, I did a bunch of clubs, and I did sports. I did clubs and sports. I did a debate for a year. Not even a year. I did debate for a month. I did everything. I did robotics. I did MSA. I did Black Student Union. I did track. I did a bunch of other clubs. But I would say is, do not be extra like me and do a bunch of clubs that you don't need. Do not put that stress on you. Do clubs that you think that you're actually interested in and you're passionate in, or that applies to your major, because that looks really well. But if you did a bunch of clubs, just put that on there. But if you're just starting out high school, do not do a bunch of extra clubs, because sometimes that gives off to the people who look at your application that, oh, she's just trying to do things just to do stuff, and that's not what we're trying to give off. So yeah, just do things that you're really interested in, or that that applies to your major. So yeah, but I'll put all, and if you did do a bunch of, put them all in there, but make sure you know your role. Make sure you know your role and what you did and how you did it, because that is all going to be on your college application. So yeah, at least if you did it, because that's what I did. Number 4, we're going to go with recommendation letter. So I was very strategic on who I asked to write my recommendation letter. I asked my African American teacher, shout out to Mr. Stroman, and I asked my business teacher. So I asked my African American teacher because Howard is at HBCU. I already knew he had the Black experience. He knew but the right to get me into the school. why I chose the business teacher, because I'm a marketing major and I applied for the business school, and I applied to be a marketing major. So that's why I chose a business teacher. You have to be very strategic when you do this, because mostly all my friends who applied to all these big name schools and got in was very strategic with their recommendation letter. If they was going to school for nursing, they picked a biology teacher. If they was going for sports, they probably picked a coach or a gym teacher. You have to be very strategic on how you do this, so your application can just make sense and have some type of coordination. So I think that's a big thing to make sure, even if you don't know yet what you want to go for, just be a little strategic. If you got an African American teacher, get them to write your your recommendation letter. If you know a teacher that know you more and know that can write a great recommendation letter about you, then pick that teacher. Be very strategic on who you ask to write your recommendation letter. This is your college application. This is not something quick. Like, these recommendation letters actually help you get into these colleges, and I feel like this is what actually got me into Howard. So yeah. Number 5, last but not least, faith in God. So I am a Christian, and I prayed to get into all my colleges, okay? I don't care how corny that sounds. I prayed to get into all my colleges, and through God, I made it in. I don't know if anybody or if all of y'all are religious, but I prayed to get into all my colleges. If you have another God that you worship, pray to them. I just really resonated with my religion when it came to that. I prayed over all my applications. I prayed while I was making the application. I just prayed a lot. So yeah, that was really one of the biggest things, and what really encouraged me to keep pushing, even when it got hard, even when them deadlines was really tight. I prayed and I got through it, and I know y'all can get through it too. Well, this will be the end of the video. Let me know in the comments if y'all got any questions. Also, it's not about being the best, okay? People who I know with the 4.0, some of them didn't even get into Howard. So it's not about being the best or the top or the smartest. It's really about having that academic process. If you was a C student in the beginning of a freshman year, how did you turn that into a B? You could talk about that also in your personal statement. So it's not about being the best or being the smartest. It's about academic progress, and this is what colleges really look for in your application, and when they look at your grades throughout your high school career. So that'll be all. Bye guys, stay tuned for my next video.